Hello everybody, yes, it's the return to the Flanders Classics, the 104th edition of the Brussels Cycling Classic, and a final hurrah maybe to the Spring Classics themselves. There they are, starting way back in Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, of course, rolling through again Wevelgem, Dwars door Vlaanderen, the Tour of Flanders, Scheldeprijs, the Brabantse Pijl, and here we are with just one more of their Spring Classics to go, the Brussels Cycling Classic. I'm not even going to make you have the Belgian version of the name. It's a very international one from the capital of Flanders, the capital of Belgium, in Brussels. And we are looking for a successor to Arnaud Démare, who won last year's edition of this race, which is, over its 104-year history, has become a Sprinters Classic. But trust me, there are plenty of opportunities for people to upset the apple cart in terms of sprint teams. And in actual fact, when we join the live pitches in just a moment, the riders will be into their second ascents of the Muur-Kappelmuur, the Bosberg and the Kongerberg, the second ridge of these Hellingen, which really mark out the Brussels Cycling Classic. Then they have a sort of much flatter but slightly jagged run in back into Brussels to finish on the Hubert de Stroepelaan. We will not see Arnaud Démare taking his third victory in this race because he's not here today. He's won two in a row. But we will see potentially a new winner, because we do have one previous victor, Pascal Ackermann, the German, for Israel Premier Tech, who is here. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that he could win today, but he's going to have his work cut out too. We're going to join live pictures fairly soon. As you can see from the pictures that were taken just before the race started, it is cloudy conditions in Belgium. Racing in the, basically, the Flemish Brabant initially. The riders have already ridden down into Wallonia, and unfortunately you're not going to see anything beautiful Wallonia in this live coverage because they've ridden through it and come back into Flanders where the race finishes. These are the previous victors going all the way back to 2014 and André Greipel. Look at the big names. Remco Evenepoel riding clear of everyone, of course, to win in 2021, which he tends to do in all these sprinters races. And then that brilliant win from Taco van der Hoorn, the breakaway surviving 2 editions ago, to win ahead of Timo Willems. That was a fantastic edition. In actual fact, I think one of my favourite finishes I've ever commentated on. Go and look it up if you haven't seen it. We did the highlights for it. This was signed on this morning. Giacomo Nizzolo has to be considered as one of those potential winners for Q36.5, the Italian. Winner of last year's Troboro Leon, of course, but that was his last big win. Pascal Ackermann, as I say, there he is, the German for Israel Premier Tech, the only former winner of this race in the field. Winner back in 2018, Ackermann. Now, DSM Firmenich have a number of options, but Casper van Uden here is probably their best. He was second yesterday, behind Alexander Kristoff, actually, in Heijs de Pijl, so we know he's going well. Of course, he'll have John Degenkolb there too. There he is, the German mega star of cycling, John Degenkolb. Second in this race to André Greipel back in 2013. And there's Alexander Kristoff, winner just yesterday, the former European champion for Uno X. He was the winner of Heijs de Pijl, which I think is a good pointer to today, definitely. Axel Zinglet, the rider who's had the most top 10s for Cofidis, the most top 10s of any rider in this field. And it's no great surprise. I'll run you through some of them once we get going, but he is, well, Mr. Consistent, but only just the one win so far in the Coupe de France too. Here's Binny. Binny's in good form too. He won on Wednesday, Biniam Girmay, where he was the winner of the Circuit Franco-Belge, ahead of, surprise, surprise, Axel Zinglet in second, and Mark Hirschi in third. Hirschi, I should say, of course. UAE Team Emirates have Juan Sebastian Molano there, and they have Alvaro Hodge, let's not forget, too. Lotto Destiny, probably looking at Lionel Tamino, but also Geno Berkmoes is, there he is, on the end, waving his hand. He is in very good form. 15 top 10 places this year for the 23-year-old Belgian, for Lotto Destiny, becoming one of their most consistent riders, in fact. 9 world teams. Caden Groves is here with his world team, Alpha Sinderkoning, fresh from the Giro d'Italia, fresh from finishing the Giro d'Italia, I should say. Second, third and third were his best results on stages, so not quite getting the win, but obviously sprinting well. Caden Groves will be a big threat today if his Alpecin de Koning team can keep it all together. Bora Hansgrohe with Jordi Meus, the best returner from last year. Third place last year, behind Arnaud Démare. And then Arkea B&B Hotels with Amaury Capiot there in very good form. He was third yesterday in Heestapale. He's been 8th and 9th in this race, but just in recent weeks, in particular, Amaury Capiot looking much more like his previous best. And I would always, 2 or 3 years ago, have picked him as a potential podium finisher here today. Mr. Consistent in the sprints as well, and he's getting back to that. So good signs for Amaury Capiot and the Breton team of Arkea B&B. These are the scenes at the gate alongside Saint-Contenaire Park, the park which was built to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Belgium's independence in the southeast suburb of Brussels. And as you can see, it was a day for arm warmers. This was, of course, this morning. It has warmed up ever so slightly, but it's windy too. That wind, crucially, blowing down from the north, so it's a cold wind, blowing almost directly from the north, anywhere between 18, 20, 22 kilometres per hour. So actually, enough to cause a few problems, potentially. These are, of course, recorded scenes of the peloton of 141 riders rolling out, ready for the 208 kilometres, 218 kilometres, I should say, of racing. The distance has gone up a little bit this year. The course is much the same as last year, but little diversions and loop rounds have added about another 10k for the distance in total. They have, as they roll out, ahead of them 50 kilometres in Wallonia, in the French-speaking part of Belgium, having headed southward. They went eastward first, though, in the direction of Leuven, almost to where the road races were just a couple of seasons ago in that fantastic Belgian World Championships. Scott Sunderland waving the flag out the top, former Australian pro, of course, now one of the key men at Flanders Classics in terms of route design and race direction. This was them riding out of Brussels, going eastward. There's a shot of those dark clouds I was talking about too. Let's have a look at the course proper though, rather than me just describing it to you. Riding out eastward towards Leuven and then turning southward in the direction of Overijse. Continuing southward, taking in a few hills and the high point as well at 171 metres, rolling through it right there, down to the most southerly part of the loop too, into Wallonia. Crossing then back northward into Flanders and heading to the Muur van Gerardsbergen, climbing up from Gerardsbergen itself. And you can see the Muur-Kappelmuur, Bosberg, Kongerberg triplet taken in first and then going eastward before coming back past Galmaden to take them in again. And then that northeasterly run-in back towards Brussels and the finish on the Huber de Stroepelaan, that famous sprinting finish at the end of the Brussels Cycling Classic. It is slightly uphill too. We'll come back to that maybe, that uphill finish on the Huber de Stroepelaan. These are live pictures. Oh, sorry, they're not live pictures because I thought we'd be joining them just before they got onto the Muur-Kappelmuur. This was the moment, interestingly enough, that Liam Slock decided to ride across to the breakaway. We had 6 riders established neatly with, at one point, 3.5 minutes of gap. But when the gap was a little bit smaller, and trust me, it's got smaller, Liam Slock rode across the young Belgian. It was a very impressive display too. When I saw on our live ticker feed that he'd already taken off, I wasn't sure if he was going to make it, but he did. And things really calmed down in that peloton as well. When we go to the live pictures, as we are right now, we should get ourselves an update on that time gap at the top to the 7 riders out front. So these are the live pictures of the peloton. For the vast majority, in fact, all of the day so far, it's been Alpecin de Koning doing the chasing and stringing out the peloton a bit. When we see that gap updated at the top left of the screen, it should indicate why maybe they've calmed down a little bit. Update on who didn't start. You can see it bottom left. He of the black and white shoes, Alessandro Covi and Tomasz Barta as well. We have had a few withdrawals during the race today as well, but I won't remember them. Oh, there you go. Marish Michels is one of the notable ones, sadly, who won't be there because, well, that might be Giro tiredness, I suspect. Michels, the Estonian. He would have been someone interesting to watch in that uphill sprint finish, but he won't be there. neither will be those others who are also there. 11 riders in this field, by the way, finished the Giro 1 week ago. Marius Michels would have been one of the very best of them. Lewis Askey also. Juan Sebastian Molano, one of our sprinters. Right, here are the riders in the breakaway. 2 Frenchmen in Alexis Gujal of Cofidis and Thibaut Grul of Groupama FDJ. Then the Slovak rider, Martin Švrček for Soudal Quickstep. There he is right in the middle with the white helmet. Cyril Dessau is at the back in the yellow, the tallest rider there, for Bingo Wallonie-Bruxelles. Liam Slock is the Lotto Destiny rider who rode across to this lot. They have with them, there's 3 Belgians, by the way, Slock, Dessau and Camille Bonneau. Camille Bonneau is in the yellow and blue of Sport Vlaanderen. Sorry, let me do that again, how terrible. Team Flanders, Baloise, right in the middle, white helmet with the yellow sleeves. And also in there, one more rider, Riccardo Luca, the Italian, riding for VF Group, Bardiani, CSF Paisani. He is in there too. I'll tell you a little bit more about these guys as we go. No doubt about it, though, the most illustriously decorated in there is the Cofidis man, Alexis Gujal, who has won 11 races as a pro. He's also the elder statesman in this breakaway. Won a Vuelta stage, of course, didn't he, in 2015, but he's been an interesting character the last 2 years. Spent a year last year racing as effectively an amateur. But in France, when you race on the amateur scene, you're effectively racing like a pro anyway, in terms of some of the races you can get into, the national races. But spent a year racing for VC Rouen, where he comes from, in the north of France. Picked up 7 national race wins last year. He's only 31. And was then picked back up again by Cofidis. So I'm not quite sure what happened there in that year out for Alexis Gujal, but he's back. And as we've so often seen with riders, having that year out of the pro ranks and certainly out of the World Tour isn't half a good motivator for getting riders back to doing what they do best, pressing that reset button of racing at club level effectively. He spent 7 years with AG Desert Mondial in the World Tour, then rode for B&B Hotels KTM before it folded, and I presume after B&B Hotels KTM, as it was, not to be confused with Arkea B&B, 2 different teams, same region of France, of course, didn't have a contract and rode for VC Rouen before now signing for Cofidis this year. He's in the breakaway, definitely the most experienced rider in there. Peloton chasing here on the classic Belgian concrete road with the death ridge down the middle and the nice rumbly bumpy edges to it. That concrete, by the way, in case you're wondering why I'm describing it as rumbly bumpy, they're back onto the bitumen road now, but when you're on those concrete roads, the concrete, particularly in Belgium, does have a habit of bowing a bit under the tree roots and what have you that might be growing underneath it. It doesn't quite bed in as well as the bitumen asphalt road that we're on right now. So that's you updated with who's in the breakaway. You can see the gap has gone back out a little bit now to 1 minute 42. And they're headed back in towards the Helligant one last time. You can see they're 1,400 metres away from the Muurkapelmuur to climb up to that famous, iconic chapel at the top. In actual fact, I seem to remember telling you last year during my coverage of this race, the Muurkapelmuur, the Muur van Gerardsbergen, of course, is one of the 3 most famous walls in the world. The Wall of China, well, the Great Wall of China, the Berlin Wall, and then the Gerardsbergen Wall. I do take that, by the way, from the Flanders Classics website, but we're among cycling friends here. It would be hard to disagree with them. You can see the hill right in front of them. So we are very, very nearly on it. And it is the Muurkapelmuur first. They turn off. It's climbing from here anyway, isn't it? 1.2 kilometres in length. And all of it cobbled. In fact, we're on little, very flat, clinky, linked up cobbles in Gerardsbergen here itself, of course, but turning on to the climb. It is interesting that with 60k to go, as we go past part of the Remco fan club's, one of their bars, we actually go right past the home of Remco Evenepoel's fan club in Schepdaal, very late on in the race, and there's a townhouse there which has a big mural of Remco's face painted on the side of it. We will look out for that. Hello, the most experienced man in there appears to be finding the first, or the second ascent, I should say, of the Muur-Kapelmoor already in Geraardsbergen. A little bit difficult for Alexis Gujart. He's going to have to hang on, because once they're over the top of it, of course, they're straight into the descent in the middle and onto the Bosberg, the Wood Hill, as it translates. So there we are, looking up the Muur van Geraardsbergen, the wall of Geraardsbergen, technically named the Muur-Kapelmoor. And here comes the chase from behind. This is very interesting as well, because they're pressing hard into this. This is Søren Branchgaard wanting to split things. I wonder whether they can shake out a leading group from this peloton that then catch our breakaway. Certainly the pace going back into the Muur-Kapelmoor for the second time here is right on, in a way that it hadn't been. It had calmed down a little bit once they'd stabilised that minute-and-a-half lead of our 7 riders out front, but understandably, this is the punctuation point of this race. And it's interesting to see that Alpecin de Koning happy to kick on with this, looking around, seeing who's there. Caden Groves is right there. Now, on a number of occasions, this race has seen a leading group with the best sprinters in it after this second ascent of the Muur-Kapelmoor. I wonder whether we might see that again. We had that last year. Arnaud Démare was effectively sprinting from a leading group last year, and Caden Groves, maybe having watched our highlights back this year, is paying very close attention to the front. All the work being done by Alpecin de Koning so far has been, I presume, to be about getting Caden Groves into good position for the finale, but not sure. Matt Walls here, the British rider, just getting distance as well in Geraardsbergen, heading on to the Muur. Look at Caden Groves. His team riding with great confidence in him. The man in second place there with the dark Oakleys on, in the light blue of Alpecin de Koning. Looking around too. Bini Girmay is also there, the Eritrean. Here is our breakaway, getting to the chapel itself on the top of the Muur-Kapelmoor. They're on the Kapelmoor section right now. There's the chapel. And they've just ridden past one of the most iconic walls in world cycling. They're back onto the little narrow cobble descent that will take them to the next kicker and the Bosberg itself. Technical descent this, of course. Thankfully dry. And as you can see, Ricardo Luca is off the back. Hello, doing damage back there on the Muur, though, is Biniam Girmay. Biniam Girmay winding it up. It was Søren Branchgaard who started this. Branchgaard is still there, the tall figure in red. But Biniam Girmay looking in good form here. And by the looks of it, making Caden Groves work very hard for this. Lotto Destiny watching closely. Bini Girmay now approaching within sight of the chapel at the top of the Muur-Kapelmoor. There it is. Well, we'll get a chance as well to see whether that gap, we've removed our timing at the top of the screen, of course. I think it might be slightly less than a minute and a half right now. There they are at the top of the Muur. As I say, according to Flanders Classic, the third most famous wall in the world. Bini Girmay leading through for Intermarché Wanty. The Belgian team with the French sponsor, one thin line as it will be all the way down this descent and before they start the Bosberg too. Gaps though, aren't there? That was a big hard push by Biniam Girmay, the Eritrean in extremely good form, wanting to make up, I suspect, for the fact that, as I say, he didn't get to finish the Giro d'Italia. Pulled out on stage 4, of course. Another unlucky Giro for Bini. I haven't seen yet whether he is refocusing for the Tour de France. Fingers crossed that he might be, the Eritrean. There's an advert, by the way, about this year's European Road Championships in September, right at the end of the year, in Hasselt, Holstenszolder, where those, I think, rather beautiful European champions jerseys will be on the line. That'd be a nice one to watch at the end of the year. I would love to be there. Might be, you know. Keep my fingers crossed. So we are now down to 6. Well, this is really interesting. The split has been seen in there too. Mark Hirschi's made this. UAE Team Emirates are happy to press on with it too. Juan Sebastian Milano is there. I think that's Filippo Baroncini as well at the front of that group. Look at the damage that's been done. And this has been done on the Muur van Geraardsbergen, but also on the little descent afterwards, and the fact that we've just come onto this windy road. We're now going eastward. They should have, yes, they have, a slight cross Wind coming from their left, and I think that is doing the damage. We've actually missed some of that chopping that's gone on there, but those chopped up gaps coming over the top of the Muur have caused real problems between that and the Bosberg. Not quite onto the Bosberg yet, but nearly, having descended back down, turning back onto that ridge of hills again to take in the Wood Hill, the Bosberg. That is Uno X who are leading that chase. My suspicion is that Alexander Kristoff is in there after his win yesterday in Heist-de-Peel. Can they close up those gaps? Marc Hirschi in really good form. The Swiss road race champion on the front for UAE Team Emirates. And I'm presuming they've got Fran Sebastian Molano in there. Could be Alvaro Hodge. I'll look a little bit further back. It was Filippo Baroncini who was pressing on with Hirschi at the front here. Caden Groves looks so good, doesn't he? Swinging out there on the left. He knows he's the big danger man in the race, let alone this group. And there he is. So, 47 seconds. They've chopped off about 40 seconds since they went into the bottom of the Muur-Kapelmuur. Casper van Uden has made it. He is there. Mike Teunissen is there as well, near the back in the yellow and white of Intermarché Wanty. And Alexis Gujal is somewhere in this gap. We'll keep an eye out for the top of this man. Haven't seen him being caught just yet. We've joined the race just as it's kicking off, by the way. If you're not used to my tones, my name's Jez Cox. I'm with you for this 104th edition of the Brussels Cycling Classic. And I'm with you solo, so if you fancy sending me any thoughts, predictions, ideas along the way, I can see some of you are doing that already. Ian Tompkins reminded me of not to forget Hadrian's Wall. Thank you, Ian, for that. Good to have you with us. If you're along with me for the ride, particularly live, please do get in touch. Twitter's probably the easiest way, at JezCox, J-E-Z-C-O-X. Of course, if you're not on Twitter, you could always just use X. Here he is, Alexis Gujal, being wound back in. That's a shame, actually. The man who'd made it into the breakaway, I say, in this, I suspect, crucial year for him, really. Alexis Gujal, because he's only on a one-year contract, according to what I'm seeing, after that year out last year. So given a real opportunity to copy this man this year, but a rider with great pedigree too. At the age of 31, I'm sure he's still got plenty to show, and this will be one of those days in this Point Pro Brussels Cycling Classic where I'm sure he'll have wanted to survive deep in that breakaway. By the way, while we wait for the Bosberg to start, it's worth me pointing out how last year's race went. We had a break only of 4 riders last year, but boy was it strong. Paul Lapeyre, last year a little bit more of an unknown Paul Lapeyre, riding for Agi Dessert Citroën team. Not this year though, because he had a fantastic season, hasn't he? He was in there with Ludovic Robit of Bingo Wallonie-Bruxelles, again in the breakaway, no surprise there. As we watch a bit of chat here, by the looks of it, Caden Groves looks really confident today. Anyway, just to complete that list, they were there with Jens Reinders of Israel Premier Tech and Jonas Abramson. Really, really strong breakaway at 4, and they survived deep into the race until they were caught by that, again, very select leading group. Arnie de Mar was in there, and of course, he took his second win in the Brussels Cycling Classic last year. So it did come down to a sprint of sorts as we look at Alex Kristoff. So he is in that group there after his win yesterday. Has it taken anything out of his legs or energy, I wonder? Bosberg inbound. This is the first chase group, and once again it's Biniam Girmay who's going for it, the Eritrean. He's obviously got very good legs after his win on Wednesday, and he knows he needs to whittle, or at least by the looks of it, he feels like he needs to whittle down this leading group, despite how good he is sprinting uphill too. He wants to shake out a few riders. I don't think he'll shake out Caden Groves quite like that, but it is shaking out some, as we can see. Biniam Girmay still going. Looks like Lewis Askey hooking up on his back wheel. That's the British rider Askey in the dark blue of Groupama FDG, and they've split this group in half. Well, I say they have. Biniam Girmay has, under his pressure, and here comes Gujal stuck in the middle, poor thing, and this is now the second half of that peloton. Well, this double ascent of the Muur-Kapelmuur, Bosberg and Kongerberg is definitely doing its damage in this race. Without them, it could be an absolutely nailed-on, and dare I say it, fairly boring sprinters race. But any of the sprinters who go on to sprint in this race definitely have earned it, no doubt about that. So even the big peloton here, this big group, is splitting. There is yesterday's winner, Alexander Kristoff. Never won this race, by the way. But he did win yesterday, and it's his 4th win of the year yesterday too, so he's been going very well. He's 36 now, Alexander Kristoff. He's the oldest man in this race. I did wonder whether his sprinting powers were starting to wane. Admittedly, most of his wins this year have come at sort of 0.1 level, there or thereabouts. But, crucially, winning is the sprinter's currency, isn't it? He's had 4 now. Latest of those was yesterday. So he'll be buoyant, I'm sure. This is the front of the Biniam Girmay group, the one that he has formed himself over attacks on the Muur-Kappelmuur and the Bosberg. Well, let's not forget, Bardiani have a rider in the breakaway in Ricardo Luca, so they will have to be a little bit careful about who they might be taking across, should they do so. Juan Sebastian Molano is also attacking this group. Wow. We have the Kongoberg yet to come. They'll top that out with 47k to go, the Kongoberg, and then things might just calm down a little bit more. I'm sure in all their road books, and in terms of what they have going on in their ears, it'll be all about Muur-Kappelmuur, Bosberg and Kongoberg, so they'll know there's one more of these 3 Hellingen to come. 400 metres of cobbles on the Kongoberg. But always, what makes it almost more interesting than the climb is the regrouping in between. Rolled out visualization of what actually happened on the last climb, and then of course all the looking around to figure out what's going on. This looks like Rasmus Tiller has made his Rasmus Tiller, who's made it into this group too with, I think, certainly Biniam Girmay. Milano is in there too, and as you can see, Tiller is trying to get the group to work, rolling his finger around in a circle, trying to get them to rotate. Mike Turnison coming through. Lewis Askey looks good for Groupama FDG, but he's got his finger on his ear. They've only got 6 riders, Groupama, of the 7 they could have had in this race here today. And my presumption would be they would love it to come down to an uphill sprint finish for Paul Penhuet. But I don't think he's in this group. There's at least 2 Israel Premier Tech jerseys there. And Tiller is happy to press this on, despite the fact, interestingly enough, that Alexander Kristoff, his teammate and today's winner, is in the group behind. Alexis Goujat is now rolling through in this group, and Cofidis have at least 3 riders, including him, in here. I haven't yet seen if one of them is Axel Zingley. There's 2 there. I don't think either of them is Zingley. We might have Milan Fréquent there. You see the group there just warning each other and being a bit careful about the Death Ridge, as it's known, down the middle of the road there. You can see the grass growing in it. All of the certainly all the Belgian riders, but all of those who race regularly in Belgium will know all about it. And it's not just the ridge down the middle, it's the little slats they're rocking over here, our breakaway. Ricardo Luca leading. Liam Schlock just behind him. Cyril Dessau right there too in the middle, just ahead of Martin Zverchek. The Slovakian rider, Fusinal Quickstep, and Thibaut Gruel. Yes, let's not forget that Groupama FDG have a rider in the leading group too, in Gruel. And even in that big group behind, it seems to be too big. So welcome along if you've just joined us recently. We've now seen 2 ascents of the Muur-Kappelmuur, the Muur van Gerardsbergen, climbing up from Gerardsbergen itself up to the chapel at the top. And these are the after effects of it. The race-long breakaway is hanging out there, but there's this group behind that's been formed, and it has to be said by Biniam Girmay and his attacking, the Eritrean, on both ascents of the Muur-Kappelmuur, and specifically the last time up the Kappelmuur to the chapel at the top, and then the Bosberg as well. It hasn't reduced, I suspect, quite as much as he might like, but it has formed a very strong second group on the road now that has a peloton behind it. This is Lewis Askey. He has the Giro in his legs, finishing his first Giro after finishing last year's Vuelta as well, of course. So Askey continuing to grow as a Grand Tour rider and looking like he's come out of it 1 week on with really good form. As we've so often discussed here at the Home of Cycling before, Grand Tour, 3 weeks of racing, a week later can do all sorts of things to you, but most notably, one of two things. Either absolutely kill you, and it's going to take 2 or 3 weeks to properly get over and get it out of your legs, or within a week, you are absolutely humming. And I wonder if that might be the case with Lewis Askey. Of course, quite different kind of affair. Here we go. We are going to have a hookup. Leading here, Martin Sverek, the Slovak 21-year-old, who was third in those under-23 Worlds in Glasgow last year behind Axel Laurent and an absolutely devastating Antonio Morgado, who was banging the bars and almost in tears at not winning on that occasion. He was the third-place rider. Martin Svercek was the first two. Laurent and Morgado were solo, individually solo, I should say, split between them. And here's one of those youngsters coming through Soudal Quick-Step, the 21-year-old Slovak. So in that second group behind, I don't know the exact numbers just yet, I would say 25, something like that. You can see it for yourselves. As I say, thank you for joining me live. I know some of you are watching this back later on because, of course, I am aware that the Dauphiné starts today and we'll be overlapping with this race, but I can see lots of regulars joining in, watching, getting involved on X as well, sending me your message. Thank you to a very regular viewer, Tonkov's Ferrari on X. Who needs a stage race when there's a Belgian one-day race on to watch? Absolutely. You can get a little bit caught up in your stage racing, particularly when there's been a Giro on for 3 weeks. It's nice to see a one-day hit out. Save nothing. No one's thinking about tomorrow. It's all about making the most of. And we saw that, didn't they, with Vinny Gamay there on the Bosberg in particular. Make the most of the Carpe Diem, seize the day. Let's see if we can make it count. Well, one rider in that breakaway, and it is the man I've just been talking about, Martin Svercek. The Slovakian wants to maintain his breakaway just as the capture happens. Nobody reacting to that on the concrete road. Bit of looking around going on. Not massive numbers in which to get organised. Let's start to look. I mentioned that Cofidis have good numbers in this group, as do Entomarché Wanty as well. And that's why they're now getting organised. We know they've got Binny in here. I think Vinny Gamay has dropped back a little bit further as well. Mike Turnison is there too. In fact, it looks like it might be Mike Turnison on the front. Get a little bit closer before I definitely bottom out that one. This is looking in behind group 2, I think. You can just see how strong the wind is, can't you? We're well on our way heading eastward now as well, riding away from Geraardsbergen and now going eastward. We do have one more cobbled sector to come, by the way. Excuse me. And that is the Rosweg climbing into Heilige Kruiswegstraat, which is where that Remco Evenepoel fan club is based. This is the last of the Hellingen that we know in the middle part of this race. So the Kongeberg, 600 metres, as you can see, 10.3% at its steepest. And Mark Hirschi really wants to use it again to reduce the group. Watch out for the Alpecin-Deceuninck jerseys. And there is Caden Groves. Well, he's making it hurt. I don't think it's doing the damage he'd like it to do, Mark Hirschi. Now, the interesting question is whether he's doing this for himself or for a teammate. I don't think Juan Sebastian Molano is in there, you know. I'm not entirely sure. I think Filippo Baroncini is in there. But Molano sports a much more, what should we say, detailed and darkened beard. And I haven't seen it there. Talking of beards, here comes Geoffroy Soup for Total Energies on the front of the peloton. We'll call it that. It's the second big group on the road. I can see also in there, and this is why Geoffroy Soup is chasing, Emilien Genier, his teammate, right in there near the front as well, and that's a shame for him. Recently got his first professional victory, Ginier, at the Boucle de la Mayenne in a brilliant uphill finish, and he is one of the fastest uphill sprinters in this field, so that'll be why Geoffroy Soupe is profiling his aero beard and doing the work on the front to see if he can bring that gap back. 56 seconds behind that front group now. That gap has opened quickly. This is what we're calling the peloton, and this is Group 1, the head of the race now, having absorbed our original breakaway. But it is a big group, and that means getting organised in there, figuring out who is there is the order of the day at the moment, I suspect, as well. Lewis Haskey back on the front. As I've mentioned already, one of those who's come fresh from finishing the Giro, and he looks like he's got 3 weeks of good racing in his legs too, and benefiting from it right now. Lotto Destiny still have Liam Schlock in there, having been absorbed from the breakaway too. But of the big names, Casper van Uden sitting 4th there, just back from the front. He's definitely made it, with the number 71 on his back. Dutchman for DSM Firmenich PostNL. There he is. Compact figure on the drop, sitting 3rd wheel. Bidim Gamay, the Eritrean, is there too. Caden Groves is definitely there on the left. Right. Uncertainty surrounds UAE Team Emirates as to which one of Alvaro Hodge and Juan Sebastian Molano is in there, if either of them are there. Seeing one of the Q36.5 riders with his hand in there. I don't know if that's a puncher. There he is. Fabio Christen. Oh, another of those strong attacking riders, the Swiss rider here, with a rear wheel puncture for Christen. That's a shame, because I don't know if Matteo Moschetti, their sprinter, has made it into this group. It looks like Yannick Steimler near the front for them, but they've got strong riders in here. I'm also wondering whether the former Irish champion Rory Townsend might have made it in here. I don't think so, though. That does look like Yannick Steimler for Q36.5 at the front, and he might be the only remaining rider for the Swiss team in here now. There's Van Uden out to the right. He's definitely a threat in an uphill sprint finish like this. Riley Sheehan has made it too, the American for Israel Premier Tech. He's definitely there with his blonde locks poking out the back of his helmet. So 45 kilometres to go, and 45 kilometres really all about maintaining this gap they have, now 49 seconds over the rest. Let's have a look at the numbers as they come through as well. 31 and 37, just seen them going through for Lotto Destiny. So, Jeno Berkmoos is there, and so is Lionel Caminio, two very strong riders for them. And so is Amaury Capiot. I wish our camera would slow down a little bit. We've seen, of course, Soren Vanschkold right at the back now, Vanschkold, looking like we're certainly having a word with our neutral service motorbike. It might have been a fairly stern word by the looks, so I'm not sure whether he's had a real change or what. He had a go, didn't he, into the base of the Muur-Kappelmuur for the final time. And there's Fabio Christen. I don't know whether he's had that rear wheel change. He does look like he has. He has, but I'm suspecting it was a slow one. It was a shake of the head there as he was caught as well. John Degenkolb getting involved in the front end of this as well. My suspicion is he'll be trying to slow things down a little bit. Because with Casper van Uden in that leading group, they do not need to worry too much, DSM Firmenich PostNL. Geoffroy Soupe doing what he is so good at. Pressing that pace at the front. Seeing him doing this is why there was so much rejoicing, I guess you could call it, at him winning that stage of the Vuelta last year, where he opened up and took off late in that final sprint, Geoffroy Soupe, because you see these riders like him, he's very recognisable with his great big beard, but he does this kind of thing all the time for the likes of Emilian Genier and others within his team, quietly getting on with it. And when he then gets his day, gets that win like he did last year at the Vuelta, it's such rich and well-earned reward as well. This is the leading group. Liam Schlock swinging off and making room for others to press out left into the wind. The wind coming from their left now. It's a northerly wind, as I say. It's Riley Sheehan on the left-hand side for Israel Premisset, the American who won that fantastic victory at Paris Tour last year. And he's just behind Yannick Steimler. Yannick Steimler, who got a big win himself this year in the Grand Prix d'Henin, former workhorse for Soudal Quickstep. But this is Søren Vanskjold. That's what was going on. He was having conversations with the neutral motorbike. And that's his wheel change. Now, Søren Vanskjold's a bit of a beast, as you'll probably know. I think he won't have too much of a problem. And a fairly sticky body. Excuse me. A fairly sticky bottle for the big Norwegian, Søren Vanskjold. If there's anyone that could wind their way back in at top speed, he won't have too great a problem, I think. Right, this is Intermarché Wanty all in for their man, Biniam Girmay, I suspect. The finish, I remind you, on the Hubert de Struppelaar is a lovely uphill ramp. We do have some very fast uphill sprinters in this race. However, this is the back, so there's Mark Hirschi. Let's see who else is in here. Juan Sebastian Molano has made it. Our graphic was right. He's at the back of that group. And this is the desperate chase now by Total Energies. Lorenzo Monzan there sitting second wheel. I don't think Genier is helping with the chase, but I'll tell you someone who is. That's Jason Tesson, arguably their best sprinter in there. Tesson is adding to the chasing too. You could just see his teammate Lorenzo Monzan there, just giving a little push on the backside. I would probably keep Tesson, get him to keep his powder dry if there's any chance of this group coming back, because outside of Emilian Genier, he is definitely their best bet. However, with 40k to go, looking at how strong that leading group is, they really have got their work cut out. Right, now where is Jordi Meeus? Last year's third place finisher. Champs-Élysées winner, let's remind ourselves, in the Tour de France last year, for Hans Grohemann. I think he's along with Amaury Capiot. He is in that leading group, Meeus. Right, so another big name to have made it. I said at the beginning of the broadcast, this race is about the very best of the sprinters being able to survive those two big sets of Hellingen around Heraldsbergen and the Muur Kapelmuur. Amaury Capiot has survived them. Hayden Groves has definitely survived them. So has Jordi Meeus. And when they're in one long line like this, the group looks quite a bit bigger than it actually is. There's Jeno Berkmoes. Had a great year so far. 23-year-old Belgian, Lotto Destiny. And there it is visually from the sky, looking down on our leading group. We can almost call it two halves of the peloton, can't we? Because that second group has got smaller and smaller. We're calling that the peloton, and this the breakaway head of the race. That's what we'll call it. Thank you for the graphic. The final 40k. Heading back towards Brussels. The race started on the eastern edge. It finishes on the northwestern edge, riding west of Brussels, coming in from the west end and then going northward to finish on the Hubert de Struppelaar. Not crazy steep, that finishing hill, but wide and long enough for it to, and I've often talked about this before, give the sprinters something to lean into, if you know what I mean. They have a left-hander 90-degree left-hander, and then that lovely, just pressing ramp in order for the strong men to really lean into. But that's if it does come down to a sprint finish, because there's opportunities for attacking late on, that's for sure. Super urban run-in through the western edge of Brussels, the capital of Belgium, capital of the Flanders region, of course. Lots of opportunities for attacking from this group. I keep updating my little list of who I think is in here, and there's one of them. Pascal Ackermann, former German champion, only former winner of the race in the race in 2018. I think he is in the leading group. That's where our camera motorbike is as well. Yep, he is. He's there with Caden Groves. Caden Groves in the groove. Martin Svercek, the Slovak rider, still there too, because Soudal Quick-Step having been in that breakaway. Caden Groves looks so good today. At all points, including on the climbs, he's looked really good. And that's Lionel Taminio, the Belgian rider for Lotto Destiny. There goes Binny. And Henri Capiot just rolling through as well. Novo Nordisk have a rider in there as well. And that is Matthias Kopecky. He's in good form. He was 8th behind Biniam Girmay on Wednesday in the Franco-Belge. Back on the concrete roads as well. But really, I need to start thinking about who hasn't made this leading group of the bigger names. I don't think Axel Zingle is in there. There are Cofidis jerseys, but Zingle is the most compact of those normally on the bike. Slightly shorter, and increasingly in the last couple of years a bit more powerfully built as well. I think he's been hitting the gym a little bit and just, I guess, fleshing out a little bit as he gets stronger, the 25-year-old, and that's been reflected in his flat sprinting. I've long described him as a brilliant uphill sprinter, which he still is, but he's a much more rounded sprinter now as well, who I think will go on, and does already go on, to contest big bunch sprint finishes. Unfortunately, this year's history books say that if he's in this group, he'll be second, third or fourth. Should it come down to a sprint finish. For his sake, I hope not, because he is Mr. Consistent this year and definitely deserves more wins. He is also, I'll openly admit, one of my favourite riders up and coming in the pro peloton at the moment. You'll know that if you watch any of my commentary. I've always enjoyed watching him race. So, as I mentioned, the run-in isn't flat. It's rolly, up and down all the time. This is Mike Turnison on the front. Yannick Steimler just behind him. Riley Sheehan just covering the wheels at the moment. Haven't seen Sheehan yet go through at the front end, but just monitoring things. Other than, I'm guessing Riley Sheehan is working for Pascal Ackermann. That's probably why he's at the front. Oh, also in there, by the looks of it, is Yves Lampaert. Yes, he is. He's in the Binny group at the front. And the Belgian champion, of course, Yves Lampaert. So they've got Martin Svercek and Yves Lampaert in there too. Look out for any more of the Soudal Quick-Step boys. Rasmus Tiller is there, and Sean Van Schot, two riders for Uno X Mobility, and Jordi Meijers doing the Jordi Meijers thing of just staying well out of trouble until he needs to be involved. Right at the back, the number 21. Meijers didn't ride the Giro. I haven't seen yet whether he's going to be giving a crack at the Tour de France this year, but after his Champs-Élysées win last year, arguably the most important sprinter stage of any stage race of the year, my suspicion is he might be. And this is now Lorenzo Morzin of Total Energies, the Frenchman on the front. There's Geoffroy Soupe just behind him. And by the looks of it, TDT Unibet also. I haven't seen any of their riders in the front of the race either. And I can see there, Zeb Kiffin, the British rider, made the step up to that team from St. Piran over the winter. There's Kiffin on the left-hand side. I had the pleasure of interviewing him in Hammersmith the end of the winter about his upcoming season. Really excited, Kiffin, about his opportunity to race for the Dutch team this year. Riding in races like this, having been part of such a dominant Cornish team, St Piran last year, racing in the UK but also racing on the continent, making a name for himself in the Great Britain, of course. Lewis Askey back on the front. I'm just looking to see who he's got with him. As for Lewis Askey for doing this much work, it's definitely not about him. This looks like Thibaut Gruel, the young Frenchman, going through again for them. Oh, I think I've just seen Paul Penouet back there. That might explain it. This is Gruel going on the front now. He's been in the breakaway already today. But I think I've just seen their young up-and-coming sprinting superstar, Paul Penouet. There, I can just see a dark blue sleeve. Yeah, I think Penouet's made it into this leading group, which is a good sign for them. Penouet, by the way, is coming back from a cruciate ligament injury that kept him out at the beginning of the year. But has come back with an absolute bang at the 4 days of Dunkirk and then at the Boucle de la Mayenne as well, looking like he hasn't had any time off at all. Maybe fresh and up for it. This is Zeb Kiffin on the front for TDT Unibet, taking over the TDT Unibet boys from Total Energies. Kiffin, of course, in the end securing, I believe, that contract with TDT Unibet after his 7th place at the Tour of Britain at the end of last year. I'm saying that, by the way, and I now need to go and check it, of course. I'm pretty certain that was it. He was top 10. 7th on GC. Let me correct myself. 6th on GC, twice 7th on stages last year at the Tour of Britain. Of course, TDT Unibet were riding, and I'm certain that's where they'll have had a very close eye on Zeb Kiffin. Nice guy as well. I really enjoyed interviewing him in Hammersmith this winter. But they've missed this move, and they're chasing. Here we go. 37 seconds, so it is coming back a little bit. That's one thing they have got in their advantage. So that front group is big, and therefore there's always more opportunity for hesitation and a lack of cooperation in that leading group. It might yet come back, you know. If you're wondering where they are, still going jaggedly northwards. We go through Ellingen, Gaspeak, Lennik, and then they go through Schepdaal, where as I mentioned, the Remco Evenepoel fan club are based, and that long downhill, the longest section of cobbles actually in the race, 2.2 kilometres worth of cobbles on the Rosweg coming towards yes, I've rehearsed that, in Schepdaal. That's in about 15 kilometres time, or it'll be about 12 kilometres time by the time we hit those slightly downhill cobbles. I can remember building them up in previous years covering this race, and really they're nothing too much to worry about. Certainly not while it's dry as well. This is Group 1 on the road. Still not quite able to give you an exact answer on how many riders are there. I'll say 25, anywhere between 20 and 30. Talking about hedging your bets, something like that. Thank you for your correspondence, by the way, on the X platform. Ben Walker asks, he was asking me, and it's very good of him to do so, in my humble experience, he asks me, do you think Caden Groves suits racing like this more than being a Grand Tour sprinter? Interesting. Of course, he had those multiple stage wins of the the Vuelta last year. Giro stages, he's just finished the Giro, second, third and third. I don't know. I think you're onto something there, Ben. I enjoy the classics side of his racing, and he is, to my mind, more than just a sprinter as well. Copes very well with the climbs as well, when he's on form. Caden Groves. What do you think? Do you fancy replying to that? Get involved with Ben's tweet to me. Let us know what you think. Cofidis now joining the chase as well. So this tells me that my suspicion is Axel Zingli is in this group. He was introduced, there he is, so I can just see him, powerfully built Cofidis rider. You can just see the white sleeve, there's Zingli right in the middle. So that's why they're chasing. Despite the fact that they have riders in that leading group, haven't got Zingli there. Ludovic Robit is the tall Cofidis man, chasing on the front. There's a Kiffin back there now, but definitely Zingli is back in that group. And by the way, you'll notice, if you've been watching my commentary for any period of time, that I've changed my tone, I've changed my pronunciation and everything on Axel's name. I've been calling him Axel Zong for a long time, but trust me, I've drilled down on this, I've gone deep with my requests for information, and it is Zingli. Despite the fact that on the podium this morning at the race he was introduced as Zongle, there's no nasal tone to it. It is Zingli. And I'm standing by that now, having rolled my way through, I think, 2 or 3 different pronunciations of his name, going way back to when he was 19 years of age and riding for Delco, I think. Well, it wasn't Delco, it was one of the other southern French Conti teams. By the way, you might be wondering where the Conti teams are. There aren't any in this race, despite the fact that it's a point pro race and we could have continental level teams here. This race is made up of only world teams and pro teams. So first and second division teams. Not entirely sure why. It still gives us 21 teams, but we've got a whacking great 12 second division pro teams here. Bingo, Caja Rural, Israel Premier Tech, Q36.5, Team Flanders, Total Energies, VF Group Bardiani CSF Baizane, got it out. Uno-X Mobility, Novo Nordisk, TDT Unibet, Lotto Destiny, Kipo Karma, and that's 12 of them. 9 world teams, notably, by the way, and I should point this out, and I need to, no Decathlon Agi Desert. So they won't be winning in this race. Robit is back on the front. And there are 3 Cofidis riders near the front as well, protecting Axel Zingli. I shouldn't have talked about the other pronunciation, because now it's creeping in. Do you know what? Robit and Total Energies here are doing a good job combined with TDT Unibet, because it's now 31 seconds to the front group, and they might just do it. Bora Hansgrohe have numbers there too, but we know that Jordi Meus is in that front group, so I can't believe they're going to want to drag anyone back up to it. There's Christoph. Ooh, look at that. I think they're going to do the catch. 25 seconds now as well. And unfortunately, it's quite long straight roads from now on too, and a long way to go. This is always the great debate. We have this with the Paterberg and the Ronde van Vlaanderen. We have this with Kemp-Wevelgem and the final ascent of the Camelberg. How far do those really big hills and the nasty cobbled hills need to be before the finish in order to get the perfect balance? I guess every race is different, but this one, of all the races I've just mentioned, has the longest gap. Once they've gone over the Congoberg for the final time, they still have 47k. It's nearly 50 kilometres to go to get to the Huber de Strupeland. An awful lot of regrouping available after that. And the gaps we're seeing here were forged by Biniam Gamay on that last ascent of the Bosberg. But of course, with 50k of rolling to flattish roads coming towards the finish, there's now a pretty good chance this leading group here will be caught by Group 2, and we're all back in together in one group. And if you were to tune in, I should say, to our coverage in about 10-15 minutes time, and that does happen, you might be forgiven for just thinking you're watching a boring sprinters race, coming into the edge of Brussels. It's been anything but. We joined on air. That is Paul Penhuet, definitely the shorter figure of the three Groupama FDJ riders. He is there at the front. But let's look back down that gap to the chase now. With 27k to go, I don't think they're going to get that close, the likes of Ludovic Roby and others, without catching that leading group now. Not least when we have Alexander Kristoff in here and Axel Zingle. There is Zingle in the black shorts, red and white of Cofidis on the left-hand side there, all by himself. Soudal Quickstep have a lot of riders in here too. They are moving up Wout van Aert on the left-hand side, but I'm sure it might be just about him. Interesting team they've got here, though. Maybe indicative of where things are with Soudal Quickstep this year, when they spread themselves a bit more deeply across, I think, this race. And I presume they have a team at the Dauphiné. I'm sure they have. No obvious big sprint leader in there for them today. They had Martin Schwercheck in the, well, in this group. The other group, the lead group. But Yves Lampaert is probably their best bet for a finish like this today, in the uphill sprint finish on the Hubert de Strubelaan, but I can't see him winning. No disrespect. Just don't see that at this stage of his career. There we go. It's a fantastic mural, that. Sometimes you see these things and think, oh, this doesn't look quite right, but he's got the Belgian champions colours there as well. Kind of... Oh, sorry, no, what am I talking about? That's the world champions colours, of course it is. The rainbow band's added to it as well. There he is on his time trial bike as well. Fantastic. The Aero Bullet. There's a pretty apt description too. Remco Evenepoel, by the way, of course, one of a clique of extremely good Tour de France focus riders who are going in the Criterium du Dauphiné, which starts today. My good friends and colleagues, Rob Hatch and Matt Stevens, bringing you that one here at the Home of Cycling on Eurosport Discovery Plus, and I believe on Max too. Starting out, stage one. I'll come back to you in just a moment. I'll run you through that, but it's going to be at the Cycling Dauphiné, which starts today. As I was just mentioning, Criterium du Dauphiné starting today. 8 days through to next Sunday, of course. Classic pre-Tour de France warm-up race, but such a great race to watch as well, in such great terrain, starting out in the centre of France, working its way south and eastward as well. And starting out today with the first stage, finishing in Saint-Pourçain-sur-Sioule, a place I know pretty well. I used to live near there when I was racing out there. And in actual fact, in my own humble way, I came, I think, third in the criterium of Saint-Pourçain-sur-Sioule. Lovely little town, up alongside the river Sioule itself, winding little narrow brook-like river to the eastern edge of Saint-Pourçain. And yes, it's not often I get to talk about something that I did on a bicycle on air, but I do remember coming, I think third, it might be fourth even actually, in the criterium there many, many years ago. A criterium there, which I'm sure there's quite a lot, because it's in a cycling heartland there in the centre of France. Right, attacks from another man who, as I keep saying, I think has got very, very good legs from the Giro. Lewis Askey going off the front before they might be caught as well. Askey is flying. Trouble is, it's being closed up as well. Casper van Uden, mark your cards, he looks good. The Dutchman for DSM-Firmenich, there he is, closing that gap himself. He's got Binny Gourmet just behind him. Who's next? Because I think we can see a fair bit of this before the full hook-up happens as well. Actually, while we're watching the front end, I've just got a feeling that the catch may have actually happened behind and we've not quite seen it. Or I was looking at my notes and didn't notice it, which is always possible. Askey goes again. This is all going to just make people work harder in there when we know he's got Paul Penhuet there. No, it hasn't happened just yet, but it's close to happening as well. Dion Smith is in that leading group. We know that Madish Michels has gone, so I'm just looking at who the other Intermarché Wanty riders are that are there. Gerben Kuipers is there, the cyclocross star, racing much more on the road this year, the Belgian, for Intermarché Wanty. Been part of their cross team, of course, over the course of the winter, Gerben Kuipers. Fantastic cyclocross rider. So as always, with my cross hat on, I hope his road career doesn't go too well. That's a terrible thing to say, but cross fans will know what I'm talking about. I just hope he's got a couple more winters at least in him where he's able to give it full focus. Let's see. It's a very fast left-hander as well. Catch not quite happened just yet. And you can see from this shot, it is that bit flatter as we head north and northwestward back towards Brussels. And it won't be too long before we start to see the end of the farm fields and the lush green trees, and we get certainly much more urban. Certainly the roundabouts and the traffic islands have started. And this is where the riders and their teams will have to be particularly cautious on the run into Brussels. Most of it's pretty wide roads, thankfully, but technical definitely. Scratching my chin a little bit here, though, about what Lewis Askey's up to. We know he's got good legs. He might just be emptying said drills on the pedals as best he can at the front, but there's got to be a reason for this, because we know Paul Penhoët is in there. Penhoët is definitely one of the strongest sprinters in this group, fastest, particularly uphill. So what's the plan with Groupama FDJ? Who are they trying to shake out by doing this, I wonder? Good to see you lot continuing to get involved. Tonkov's Ferrari says, well, regarding Groves, I think that Milan-San Remo would suit him very well. If he is to leave Alpecin, he may get an opportunity. Interesting thoughts. Interesting thoughts that he might get more freedom in Milan-San Remo outside of that. Well, yeah, he is in the team of Jasper Philipsen, Mathieu van der Poel. I can see that. Which team would it be, I guess? Interesting. Thank you once again for your thoughts this Sunday afternoon. Well, I mentioned the Dauphiné starting, by the way, just to continue marking your cars while we see our leading group pressing on, and the second group still not quite there just yet. The Dauphiné and this race are the biggies today. If you fancy watching something slightly different, you might want to catch up on the highlights or even the full replay of yesterday's European BMX Championships from Verona in Italy. My good friend Marty McDonald covering that one with you, or for you, I should say, last night. And then rolling into this week, starting on Wednesday, one of my favourite stage races of the year, mainly because of the racing it produces, the ZLM Tour, starting on Wednesday in the Netherlands premier men's stage race now, the ZLM Tour. And that race is right the way through to Sunday too. On Thursday, the revamped, revived, new edition of the Tour of Britain Women's starts, and we will be covering it here at the Home of Cycling as well. I'm going to be down at the roadside at all the finishes with a microphone in hand. Look at that. I remember this castle from previous years. That is spectacular. Dried out moat around it as well. Two shallow looking, weedy looking fish ponds, make that three around the edge. My suspicion is that's where the water from the moat has gone, drained into them, but quite nice for stocking up your larder with fresh brown trout and goodness knows what else you might want to keep in there. That is a fine looking chateau, that is for sure. Apologies, just continue my little rundown. Tour of Britain Women starts on Thursday, racing between Welsh Pool and Llandudno. Finishing on the seafront in Llandudno, not the Great Orme ascent from the men's Tour of Britain a couple of years ago where I was at the top. I'll be at all the finishes, by the way. If there's any British fans watching or fans who are coming over to watch the race or support riders, do come and say hello. I'll be at all the finishes with a microphone in my hand, doing the live PA at the finishes as well. I'm going to have a few special friends coming and joining me in there too as well. Can't confirm quite yet who they are, but it will be exciting. So good to see the Tour of Britain Women back on. And they're racing all the way through to Sunday's final stage in Manchester, heading out of the National Cycling Centre and into Lee for the finish. Big loop around the edge of Manchester, heartland of British cycling, of course. And you will be able to watch it right here at the Home of Cycling, Eurosport Discovery Plus too. Geoffroy Soup has decided to do the deed and finish this bad boy off. He started it and the Total Energies did. They've done a great job, actually. When I saw them chasing, I really have to be honest, you might have read in my voice, I didn't think they stood a chance of closing that gap on the rows, but they've done a good job. Combination of them working hard and the front group possibly being a little bit too big. Look, you can see how flat it's gone at the front. There are, I suspect, plenty of riders in the front that know the catch is possible. I'm not going to say imminent, because that 20 or so seconds has been held much the same since the very start. And the deed has not yet been done. Lewis Askey continues, the squeal of disc brakes. And Thibaut Cruel just behind him, ready to do another turn by the looks of it. Laurence Rex just behind them, Mike Turnison as well. Biniam Girmay still there. And it's actually starting to look a little bit more like, you see Riley Sheehan doing his bit of Paris Tour. Off the edge there, hopping onto the cycle path and coming back on. Not only does he want to be in that pack, by the way, but you have to be very careful, particularly nowadays, with going on to cycle paths and footpath alongside bike races, so as not to get either a fine or even a disqualification, something like that. So riders will be aware of that. Riley Sheehan wanting to slot back in on the wheel. Thankfully his gap was still there by the looks of it. When they're compacted like that, it certainly looks like a much smaller group, doesn't it? I'll remind you again, if you've joined us live, the riders who are in that second group behind of the big sprinter types that we could see winning on the Hubert Strupelaan. Lucas Janssen there just rejoining the back, but the riders who are in there in that second group, Alexander Kristoff, yesterday's winner in the Heist de Pijl, he's in this group, as is Axel Zingli. And here we are onto the final long cobbled sector as well. This is the Roosweg, heading in the direction of the Heilige Kruiswegstraat. I did mention it's not too bad, even riding on the cobbles here, as you can see. Liam Schlock there, if I'm not mistaken, going right the way across Yves Lampert, out to the side. Caden Groves in the wind, notably too, as riders choose their wheels. You've got to be so careful around these parked cars as well, with the mirrors sticking out. I won't even start to describe what could, of course, happen if you clip one of them when they're riding so close together. And once you're in that fast rolling ditch there, I mean, you can see Yannick Steimler holding that line, because he can see clearly in front of him. But watch the head there of Yves Lampert, nervously, always just looking round to see where they are. Liam Schlock splits to the right. Still Caden Groves, the bottle rolling across the middle of the road there. It pinged under one of the wheels of the riders further back and goes back across the road from whence it had come. Groves still riding the middle of the road. Now he gets in on the wheel. Mark Hirschi moving up the middle. The reason I'm noticing people like Groves is that he is a highly likely winner of this race, should it come down to it. And I wonder whether we might come back to this, because with 17k to go, Groves appears to be quite happy to strike matches left, right and centre. He's not doing what Jordi Meijers is doing and not being mentioned by me. You really want to be in a group of this size, where I can see most of the riders here. You want to be the best sprinter here that I've not mentioned in the last 15-20 minutes. That is in my own humble estimation. If I'm mentioning you a lot, then we're probably seeing more wind than we should. There's Groves again. Caden Groves had just found there the back wheel of Paul Penouet, the French sprinter. And Groves again chooses to go left and ride the gutter by himself on the left-hand side. If he wins from this situation, I probably won't mention it again. But if he doesn't, and he's further down, there's a chance that we might come back to this, because we are seeing an awful lot of him, and he is obviously in very good form with the Giro in his legs. .2k long, this long rumbly strip of cobbles on the Roosweg, but they're not particularly tough. And as you can see, it's not slowing the speed down much either. It takes them, after this left-hander, right into Schepdaal. Ever so slightly uphill. There's a bit more of a climb here into Schepdaal as well, before then going eastward. And they rejoin the main road, the N8 as it is, going eastward, to take them right into the edge of Brussels before they head northward. They go into town on that fairly main road. This is the back of that peloton. Lucas Janssen still there. the 21-year-old Dutchman for Arcaire BNB. Not many Dutchmen on that team over the years. The Breton team from the northwest of France. Right, here we go. Mark Hirschi again having a go on the drops. Unmistakable style of the Swiss road race champion, winding his speed up. And he's taking with him Liam Schlock again, who's very, very strong by the looks of it. Just over the top into Schepdaal. He's obviously sensed Hirschi that it might be his last chance to do this. William Gourmet has jumped the gap as well to come across. Riley Sheehan doing likewise. Caden Groves the same. Just looking to see who the Tipo Calfano rider is in there. He looks comfortable as well in that leading group. I think he's grown a beard recently. I don't remember any of their riders in this race having a beard. They are all Spaniards, of course, so it may only have taken a couple of days to grow a beard like that. Unlike me. OK, Uno X have got numbers in the lead too. Want to see which one of them this is. Look like it might be William Bloom-Levy. I see numbers on that. Soudal Quick-Step getting involved too. All this attacking, though, I don't think it's going to help them maintain their gap, because look how steady that little bubble is going there. That's got William Gourmet on the front of it. You need to be careful. This group of 7 going clear, chasing these 2, and there's quite a lot of riders sitting at the back now that aren't doing too much. They're looking to others to chase. William Gourmet now having to chase himself by the looks of it, as we look back down through these riders. Jonas Abramson, this is. Norwegian. So we have 2 riders leading this group out front. And is that the front? Yes, it is. Oh, hang on, no, sorry, that's the second half of the leading group, and the gap has gone out to the peloton behind. If that is accurate, 50 seconds, they were so close, they were under 30 seconds, they were, what, about 20 seconds from catching this lot, so, I don't know, maybe all this attacking has helped them here. Lewis Askey leads the chase of Abramson here. Sorry, I haven't yet seen who the Soudal Quick-Step rider is, I'll try and track that one down. Pro Cycling Stats thinks it's Martin Svercek. If it is, the Slovakian rider has got really good legs today. He's one of those riders who was in the original breakaway. There they are up the road. This is the front group. So Svercek, if it is him, does look like him, and Abramson out front. Then that chasing group. Yeah, there we go. I was going to say, no, there's 2 riders there. As we watch, I think they've been dropped from that leading group. I was wondering whether we might start to see the peloton coming around that corner, but 50 seconds. Wow, that's really opened up in that time. My suspicion is one of those teams at the front of that second group might have given up now as well. It could be, well, I might be wrong, of course, but it could be Total Energies. I don't know. No, there they are. This is Cofidis still going for it. This is the peloton. With Axel Zingle, Alexander Kristoff in there as well. Lionel Tamino is in that leading group, but the Lotto Destiny fast man, has he got a soft tyre? Yes. Soft rear tyre, I think. Or is he just running low pressures? He's certainly working hard. I guess he could have already had a change there. I haven't seen what happened there with Tamino. We're focusing on his back tyre. It does look a bit bouncy, doesn't it? Abramson driving, and it's Entomache Wanty who want to bring it back for William Gourmet for the uphill sprint finish on the Huber de Struppelen on the western edge of Brussels. I said we'd be saying goodbye to the farms and the lush green trees. Done just that, and now we're properly urban on the main road running eastward. It's a long one as well. They've got, well, actually they've got around about 6 kilometres to ride in, and then they go northward. If they follow this road, they'd be straight into the middle of Brussels 3k later, but no, they turn far more northward. You can see riders overlapping and using the sort of hard shoulder, the parking edge there, the bus stop even, I think it is, on the left-hand side as we look at it. Ever so slightly uphill here too, which is why riders want to use this to see if they can press on these gaps that have opened up in the front of our leading group. Mike Turnison now picked it up on the front. These two are still dangling out there. Jonas Abrahamsson and Martin Svercek, the Slovakian rider, and the Norwegian. Abrahamsson flicks his elbow. I don't think Svercek can come through, and that's understandable. He was out in the breakaway for what, 90 kilometres, something like that? Taminio is definitely working hard, rear wheel puncture or not. Whether he's had the change, I don't know. The Lotto Destiny man looking like he's finding this one quite tough now. And there's Pascal Ackermann, former German champion, and the only former winner of this race at the back. Emmy de Gent of Cofidis trying to ride across. He was second in this race in the year that Remco Evenepoel won in 2019. And he won the sort of reduced group sprint behind him from those who'd been out in that breakaway that Remco Evenepoel waved goodbye to, of course, in classic Evenepoel style. And this is an Emmy de Gent at the age of 29 who is looking for a return to his best days. He's been a bit quieter in the last 2 years, Emmy de Gent. Now Martin Svercek comes through to help Jonas Abrahamsson. Now here's the wheel change by the looks of it. It's going to even be a complete bike change for Lionel Taminio. This won't be great for him. Form was obviously being affected by that soft rear tyre, but he's going to have quite some chase to get back in right now. He's going to need some sticky body, I would suspect. And actually, a finish like this is good for Taminio. This is a very unexpected leading group from these two, taking a chance, but possibly Jonas Abrahamsson being freed up by the fact that Alexander Kristoff is not in that leading group. But he does have Sean Van School there, and for an uphill sprint finish in that leading group, on his day, I would have Sean Van School of Uno X down as one of the best uphill sprinters there. Maybe this takes a bit of pressure off Van School by having one rider out front. Why not roll the dice? We know Rasmus Tiller is there too, so actually, if it should stay like this, and by the looks of the gap back to the peloton, 1 minute 3 seconds, this leading group of Uno X with 8.7k to go, well, I think they're going to stay clear. Mark Hirschi, the Swiss champion, back on the front. Yannick Steimler still there, covering moves at the front end too, number 146. So I don't think Matteo Moschetti is in this leading group. I haven't seen him, but then if I follow my own advice, I would say the fact that I haven't mentioned him might be a good thing, but I just don't think he's there. Which might be why I've not mentioned him. That's Emid again. The Cofidis man looking like he is now coming back into the fold. Nice try by him though. Exactly his kind of thing. These two will just keep going like this in the hope that the size of that group behind will be enough to cause disruptions. Understandably though, Akamache Wanty with numbers in that leading group are starting to think about bringing it back together for Guillaume Germain, who certainly I'm going to credit with kicking all this off with his attacking in the Heligan. Sitting right at the back, Søren Vanskov, who I think is a danger man here, although he also has been doing quite a lot. The tall Norwegian for the Norwegian Uno X team. He's winding something up there. I can't believe he's going to try and bridge across to his own teammate. He doesn't need to either. of course. Whether he is doing that, but Søren Vanskjold, definitely one of the best uphill sprinters in here. Jonas Abrahamsson there, also pretty quick. This is some ride by Martin Svercek, having been in that breakaway already today, getting caught, I think, possibly not wanting to come through and help Jonas Abrahamsson. Might have been, he was just covering moves when Abrahamsson went, but they're out there now. They may as well crack on with it. Don't forget that 120 is this group back to the group behind. Or it might be actually from our front two back to the group behind. Maybe it probably is front of the race back to group 3 on the road. This is group 2. It's, I would still probably classify as our leading group, but there we go. 20 seconds back to them from the 2 out front. And Liam Schlock has gone back to bring Lionel Tamino back up to the front, which makes sense, doesn't it? Done a lot today, Schlock. He can be pleased with his day out, having bridged the breakaway, ridden hard with the breakaway, been caught, still in the leading group. Now he's doing a job bringing a sprinter back in as well in Tamino. Tamino's form looks a bit better in here, but boy does he push a big gear. It's always hard to tell. I guess with 6k to go, you don't hang around. It's difficult. I watch this and think, well, you want to measure it out a little bit more. You'd have to bring him back so quickly, but actually I think you do. Get him back in there before it kicks off again. Great ride by Liam Schlock. I've been impressed with this young Belgian all the year this year, the tall Lotto Destiny rider there, and look at that. Having been in the breakaway, he's also brought Tamino back on. I don't think he can do much more, Schlock. I mean, that is it. Or is it? Or is it? Maybe he'll hang on a little bit and attack again. Wouldn't put it past him either. A bit of a beast. Mike Turnison just hanging at the back there a little bit. Well, riders from that early breakaway today, I don't know whether maybe they didn't go too deep or what, but there's a number of them still very much in play here. We go from Liam Schlock at the back, here to Martin Svercek, the Slovakian rider for Soudal Quickstep, on the front in a leading group of 2 with Jonas Abrahamsson. Maybe I need to start thinking about these two going to the finish together, turning left onto the Huber de Strupelaan for the finish of the Brussels Cycling Classic and taking the win. With 5k to go, they have the dice in their hands. And I'm not seeing too much looking back from these two, either down the long the long straight that leads in towards the Huber de Strupelaan. They've got another left-hander to come where they'll head a bit more northward too. "21 seconds now." The one thing I can't see these two doing is hesitating anyway, watching, waiting. There's no need. And Søren Vanskjold sitting at the back of that group behind tells me that he's having nothing to do with this. Get out of the way, let what happens in front of him happen if it should come back. And by the looks of this, Abrahamsson doesn't want to wait. I think he senses, well, he probably can sense, it's expected me that Martin Svercek might be a bit tired from his breakaway escapades, and he's gone. Abrahamsson's gone. Svercek's got nothing less. Jonas Abrahamsson, the Norwegian for Uno X, attacked the leading group just when it looked like they were about to be caught by the chasing group behind 2. And he's now going clear by himself. We'll see that moment again because we just cut away from it. Went for the drops, just touched the levers, flicks out to the right-hand side. And enough of a kick to mean that despite trying, the Slovakian Martin Svercek for Soudal Quickstep, he gave it a go, didn't he? That was the moment the head dropped. He's done. Unfortunately for him, I can see him being caught fairly quickly too. We're not seeing an aerial shot at the moment. Now we're in very urban terrain. We're not looking back down the road, but I kind of wish our camera would just pan left a little bit and look behind him, because 21 seconds is seeable. Svercek's not giving up. I've discredited too many of these riders from our original breakaway today. I have to say, though, we are watching a very, very good ride from Jonas Abrahamsson. 28-year-old Norwegian from Skien in Norway, of course. He, along with Rasmus Tiller, has had a couple of very good rides in Trobro Leon. Just a few weeks ago, he was 5th at Trobro. And there's a man who's strong can climb and definitely knows how to handle his bike. He was also in the breakaway, wasn't he, at Dwars door Vlaanderen? Second to Matteo Jorgensen on that occasion, surviving from the breakaway along with Dries de Bont. Yes, I'd forgotten that. Good springtime for Jonas Abrahamsson. He rode most of the big classics as well, starting out his classic season at Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, Kuurne, Brussels-Kuurne, opening weekend. Rode Strada, rode Tirreno Adriatico, Milan San Remo, where he was 34. E3, where he was 12th. 20th at Gent-Wevelgem, second at Dwars door Vlaanderen, and then 32nd at the Ronde van Vlaanderen as well. Classy bike ride. Of course, the 5th at Trobro was the most important result there. Is he going to hang on? My goodness me, he's only got 2.2k to go. I think he stands a very good chance of hanging on right now. 18 seconds ahead. Well, actually, we say that. No, there it is. Let's forget the timing for a minute. When we get this close to the finish with 2k to go, let's watch it visually. There's the big pack here that contains still Jordi Meeus, Caden Groves, Casper Van Uden. Who else have we got in there? Ooh, they're the big names, really, in terms of the sprinters. Juan Sebastian Milano also in there, sprinter-wise. Paul Penouet, likewise. Right, one man remains out front. Martin Svercek, having been in the breakaway already today, going with a move. And now, look at this. Lewis Askey's doing it again. He's done so much today, the Brit. He is in incredible form coming out of this Giro d'Italia. What can Biniam Girmay do? Of course, he's the other name I've not mentioned there. I can see Casper Van Uden sitting back down there. Biniam Girmay deserves to win this race after the way he has ridden. He won on Wednesday, of course, as I mentioned, at the Franco-Belge. We know he's in good form, Biniam Girmay, but he was the one that forced these splits. Maybe if he hadn't done it, someone else would have done it too, but they didn't. It was the Eritrean who did it on the Muur-Kapelmuur, on the Bergsberg. It was him that was attacking, and he looked really good too. He has teammates in here. He has a really good chance of finishing this off, but it all means nothing if Jonas Abrahamsson stays out there, and he is doing a sterling ride. I've just rattled through, as he goes under 1k to go, I've just rattled through what Jonas Abrahamsson has done this spring already. And the notable thing amongst all those fantastic results, including that second at the Dwars door Vlaanderen, I haven't read out any number ones. He won the mountains classification of all things at the Étoile de Bessèges, but not a one-day race. This is going to be a wonderful opportunity for Jonas Abrahamsson as well to get his first professional victory. He hangs out front. This is the chase coming from behind, but have they left it too late? Fantastic side-on shot as they lead onto the Hubertusstruppel. He still has that little, I think, has he got the left-hander to go? No, he's got 500 metres to go. He's rolling into the base of the final climb as well. Can Jonas Abrahamsson hang on? Or are we going to see Entomarché Wanty get Biniam Girmay in perfect place? I think Abrahamsson can do this. He's coming towards, what, 400, 300 metres to go. Jonas Abrahamsson closing in on his first professional victory, and what a way to do it, attacking such a strong leading group. Can the Uno X man hang on? I think he can at this stage, but it is going to be right on the line. If he hangs on, they're going to be sprinting around him. Watch out for Caden Groves. Watch out for, well, anyone else who's still in here that's got anything left as well. Riley Sheehan's having a go at this, but Jonas Abrahamsson and a crash in the middle too. Abrahamsson is going to hang on. He takes his first professional victory in the Brussels Cycling Classic, and what a way to do it as well. Caden Groves rolling in. Biniam Girmay is going to get second. Groves third, I think. But Jonas Abrahamsson has taken his first professional victory in quite some style. What a ride. And I said it was deserved. You've heard what he did this spring, how close he's been, how close he was at Dwars door Vlaanderen, and, well, how close he's been in recent years. He was third on the stage of the Tour de France last year, and look at this. What a way to do it. He gets congratulations of Søren Vanskov, Rasmus Tiller, his teammates around him who'd been just getting in the way of things in the group behind. But Jonas Abrahamsson will remember that one for the rest of his career, not least because it was his first win at this level, more because of the way he did it. Another fantastic edition of the Brussels Cycling Classic, this Point Pro one-day race that runs alongside the opening stage of the Criterium du Dauphiné. I'm going to call it there. I'm going to say that pretty much concludes Classics season. I know we've had the Giro d'Italia as well, but this is a Flanders Classics race, and it felt like a Classics race today, didn't it too? With the weather, I have to say, as well. I enjoyed that. It's so nice to see a late breakaway surviving. Nothing lucky about it either. That was really just brute force in there, it has to be said, doesn't it? Martin Svercek there alongside him to congratulate him as well. This is the next sprint from behind, from the main group. And it looks like Alexander Kristoff off to the right-hand side, if I'm not mistaken, sprinting alongside Emilien Genier, I think that might be. Genier might just have got it alongside Kristoff. They have a little smile to each other because they never did catch that group. Can you believe this group came within... Actually, it might have been about 19 seconds of the group in front, but it didn't happen. And the Uno-X boys come across the line, smiling and enjoying it because they know Jonas Abrahamsson has taken his first professional victory at this level. He has won other races whilst as a professional. If you look down on the Atomium, built in 1958 for the Brussels World Fair, or World's Fair I should call it. Part of a campaign, I'll finish off telling you about this now while we're looking at it. It's part of a campaign for atomic energy for better and not for bad, for good not ill. What an incredible looking building. I don't even know if I can call it a building, it's a structure, but it very definitely is a building. You can see in through the windows there people, I'm not entirely sure what's in that top bubble. It looks a bit like it might be a cafe or something. Fantastic. A fantastic view at the finish of yet another fantastic edition of the Brussels Cycling Classic. I mentioned this being a fantastic edition of the Brussels Cycling Classic. Of course, this race hasn't always been called that. I was talking about the Robbie McEwen days, he being the winningest.
Jonas Abrahamsson, congratulations. Can you describe those tremendous last 10K?
Yes, it was some attack with like after a cobblestone, around 50 kilometers to go, and then some guys was attack, and I was counter-attack over there, and then we get a gap, and it was one from Quickstep was joining me, and when it was 5K to go, I attack, and it was so nice to be solo for my first pro victory.
When did you believe in the victory?
Maybe last 300. I was so close also in Treno Adriatico, then I was catch with 50 meters to go. So I was just sprinting and to take the victory.
What a weekend for you guys. Yesterday with Alexander, today with you. You went on altitude camp to be good in this month of June. Also for the Tour de France, of course. Now it's only, let's say, victories for Uno-X.
Yes, the team have been so strong in the last race, so I'm so proud of the team. Like Kristoff won yesterday, and in Franco Bells we were seven teammates in the end there. And it's also a nice experience for me to be my first altitude camp and feel so strong afterwards.
That's the least you can say, exactly. Just one word about the Tour de France. You don't have a GC rider. Everybody gets his chance. Yeah, last year you were very close in Bourg-en-Bresse, that stage. What are the expectations for the Tour de France? Win stages?
Yes, I think so. Like last year we have 11 top 10 and 2 top 3. So hopefully we can get a victory in the Tour de France. So.
For next season, when you win 10 races in the pre-season in Belgium, how do we pronounce exactly your name? Jonas Abrahamsson?
Jonas Abrahamsson.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, I'm just glad I was getting it right. Thankfully, it's an easy one. Looking down here, by the way, on the King Baudouin Stadium. There we go. I'm glad the graphic was right too. Built in the 1930s, named after the former King of Belgium, of course. Also used to be, the old version of it, the Heysel Stadium as it was, scene of the 1930 and 1935 UCI Track Worlds there. I'm not going to skim over it, by the way, I won't ignore it. It is also the scene of a terrible disaster in 1985 when 39 Juventus fans lost their lives. So the stadium has been rebuilt. What a fantastic looking, I'm not even entirely sure what we're looking at there. This is a sort of mini Oh, it's one of these mini, what do you call it, mini towns with an airport. Oh, my kids would absolutely love that. I think I'd love it too. The sun's come out, by the way, hasn't it, in the west of Brussels. It's been a gloomy old day for the Brussels Cycling Classic, but it looks lovely now. We are, let's not forget, the 2nd of June today. And certainly, I'm going to speak for everyone in certainly mainland Europe and the west of Europe. We could do with the summer getting on with it a little bit. Enough rain, thank you. There's the top 10. Jonas Abramson getting his first professional victory ahead of Biniam Girmay, who deserved a minimum of a podium in this race after his riding. Caden Groves third, Pascal Ackermann, the only Formula 1 winner in the field of this race, in fourth. Moschetti was there. Matteo Moschetti in fifth. Juan Sebastian Milano sixth. Filippo Fiorelli seventh. Lionel Tamino, after his puncture, getting back in there for eighth. Milan Fretin was also there. The Cofidis man in ninth. And Francesco Galvan in 10th. Francesco Galvan with the tattooed arms and neck. He was the best of the Equipo Kern Pharma riders there. He was sprinting behind. But Jonas Abramson in the heat haze, dare I say it, on the Hubert Strupelan, the Norwegian Uno X rider. Oh, the crash there was for the Flanders Baloise rider behind him. I hope he's all right. But Jonas Abramson, first professional victory after coming so close on a number of times now, at the age of 28. He will remember that for a long time. Such a key player for the Uno X team. And notably there, I thought it was really interesting, talking about the effect of altitude training. We're seeing teams like Uno X now doing it not just for their climbers, but also for their sprinters and their classics riders. And that is something we're seeing more and more. Sprinters going on. We'll just watch that crash again there, unfortunately, for the Team Flanders Baloise rider. I can't quite see who it was either, sprinting back there. There we go. Oh, thankfully, this being a Flanders Classics race, the barriers they use here are, I think, the best in the business. And I've seen a lot of different kinds of barriers. I think these are the B-plan barriers, if I'm not mistaken. And they're completely smooth all the way along, actually quite heavily padded too. And I think you see an example there. His head hit the barrier, didn't it? And he slid along it. I think he's all right. Certainly hope he is. But that's exactly what those barriers are designed for. You're able to crash into them, and you should relatively softly slide along them. I think it's done its job perfectly there by the looks of it. I say that, I haven't seen him back up, but I think he'll be all right. Yeah, just to close out what I was saying, that was interesting, him talking about having just come back from an altitude camp that's focused on June and the build-up to the Tour de France as well. There we are, looking from the northwest into Brussels. A fantastic Atomium. And here's Caden Groves, third.
Caden Groves, first of all, what do you think yourself? Second or third? Because I saw from the images you just, hold on to sprint in the last meters.
Yeah, I mean, sprinting for the second position is a
different way than for the first.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I thought I'd be second, but in the end, Biniam, I think, got me on the photo. But, yeah, in the end, second or third with one away. It's something you only do in sprinting when I wouldn't do it if I was going for the win.
Describe how it felt in the last 10K when Abramson went and Svercek. In the last 5K, did you miscalculate it as the peloton after Jonas Abramson?
No.
Because everybody knows he's a very strong guy.
Yeah, exactly. I think he went at a really good moment. He went as, riders were following other attacks and nobody had the legs to go with. And in the end, we gambled to make Intermarché close the gap, but in the end, they couldn't do it. And, Jonas was too strong.
Your DS told me last week before the Franco-Belge, you asked yourself to be able to race after the Giro. Why?
Oh, I missed so much racing over the spring with my knee injury, and I come back to a good level. Coming out of the Giro, I felt good, so I thought I'll race, as much as I can this week and finish with Hageland also next Saturday. Make the most of the form, but unfortunately, no win yet.
Thanks, Caden Groves. Thanks.
That is interesting. Caden Groves asking to race more after the Giro. And that is the photo finish. Look at that, how close it was as well. That is showing that Bini was second, Groves third, Pascal Ackermann in fourth, Moschetti, Milano, Fiorelli, Camino Fretin in ninth. Fretin back off for this rider. And Francesco Gelvan, once again the best fast finishing sprinter of Equipo Kelm Pharma. That is a meticulously well-maintained greenhouse. I wouldn't fancy it on a high hail shower, would you? I'd be a bit nervous, with the big hailstones we seem to get increasingly more and more of in the current era.
My last Wednesday, a victory in Franco-Belge today, second place. First of all, did you guys, as a peloton, not only Intermarché, Wanty, did you miscalculate it behind Jonas Abrahamsen?
Yeah, today, to be honest, we didn't expect he will have like these legs until the end. And he also attacked in the nice moment because everybody said it's fact. But we didn't expect to continue until the end like this. And we try to do our best. And I think today he have the legs to do like this, Abrahamsen. So yeah, I mean it's not miscalculation, but just in the end it's about the legs, I guess. And he have the legs to continue. And I think behind also we try to do our best, and we couldn't reach the gap back, but in the end it's can happen like this. So
What is next now for Binyam Girmay? You're now returning to Eritrea and to make the preparation for the Tour de France now?
Yeah, absolutely. It's my last race today before Tour. So now it's time to build up again. To find the shape like now, I guess, and to be maybe more. And now I will be back home for almost 3 weeks.
And it's a natural altitude camp because you are living on what altitude? 2,400 meters?
Yeah, to be honest, for me it doesn't change anything. I born there, I live there, so actually I go home to spend time with my family and also to have good weather. Beautiful place to training, and absolutely. I mean, I love always to training there, and it's also altitude 2,400. That means I can go also higher, so that means the best place to training also.
Final question: how strong are you looking forward to this Tour de France since you had so many bad lucks and crashes this year?
Yeah, to be honest, after the classics, I prepared really well myself, and then also I find my shape really good before Giro, and then luckily I don't have better chance to show my performance, and then we decided to continue racing after the crash in Giro. I have almost 3-4 days off, and then I start to race again, and then the shape is there. To be honest, today I find myself in really good way. I had really a good race, have fun. I also like always to race aggressive and to enjoy also a little bit, and mentally, physically, I'm really ready, looking forward for Tour de France.
Thank you very much, Binyam Girmay.
No greater surprise to hear that Binyam Girmay is going back to Eritrea, to his family. It's something he did straight after winning Gent-Wevelgem, despite the fact that people were saying, well, finish the classic season. Going back to his family at home, so important to him. And actually, our interviewer there pointing out about, was it 2,200 metres, I think he said, of elevation above sea level. So the altitude also quite helpful. Although he said, and this is something we often hear from those who are born and grown up at altitude, that it's sort of in their makeup already. So having going back for short periods of time won't make too much difference to riders who've already lived for an awfully long time at that height. Let's look back at this race, shall we? We had a breakaway of 6 that then became 7 when one rider got across to them. Then we saw the first of our breakaways sadly getting distance to Alexis Bujold. And then look at this, Binyam Girmay, the man we've just been hearing being interviewed, pressing really hard the second time up the Muur-Kapelmuur and then onto the Bosberg itself. Then onto the roads in between there and the Congoberg. And then this is when the wind got interesting too. Breakaway still hadn't been caught though, but it was very, very close to being caught. Thibaut Gruel off to the left-hand side would continue to play his part. Liam Schlock there likewise. And this was just after the breakaway had been caught. There was Jonas Abrahamsen, interestingly enough. This was that second group that looked like Total Energies and Geoffroy Soup were going to bring it back. It came so close. I wonder if we'll see a shot of it. It was under 20 seconds at one point between There we go. Look at that gap there. And it was coming back and coming. And they got closer than this too. Look at the long line of that second group. But in amongst, weirdly enough, it was more the attacking than the relentless pace at the front from these guys. You can see the looking around that was going on. That's what made me think it was going to go. And then these two went. It was the unpredictable combination of Jonas Abramson and then Martin Svercek. Svercek, though, was getting tired. Abramson sensed it and kicked hard down the right-hand side of the road with about, what was that, 3.5k to go, something like that, Abramson. There was the effort from Svercek to come back, and the head went. And then coming to the line, Jonas Abramson rolling a big gear out the saddle up the Huber de Stroepel, and the sprint opening up behind him. Caden Groves, Biniam Girmay boiling to the front, but he took his first professional victory here at the Brussels Cycling Classic in, by that point, sunshine, spring sunshine. Biniam Girmay finishing his pre-Tour de France build-up. It's quite remarkable to hear him saying that's his last race before the Tour de France. Fingers crossed for a trouble-free passage for the Eritrean after his second place here today. Ahead of Caden Groves, Pascal Ackermann, Matteo Moschetti, Juan Sebastian Molano, Filippo Fiorelli, Lionel Caminio, Milan Fretin and Francesco Galvan. So very multinational top 10. Look at that. Norway, Eritrea, Australia, Germany, Italy, Colombia, Italy, 2 Belgians and a Spaniard. You bet your bottom dollar, if I'm talking through the top 10, it will be pulled before I've finished. There is our podium. Well, our podium riders ready to get on the podium. It's quite unusual. We see them give them flowers before they go up there. Maybe they give away. It might look a little... No, he doesn't look that tired, Caden Groves. He looked fresh as a daisy in the race. He is definitely one of those riders who is in good form coming out the Giro. Biniam Girmay there, not being asked actually about the Giro, but we could do without any more problems this year. Trouble-free start to the Tour de France, maybe. Caden Groves, no doubt, relishing in any opportunity he has in a race where Mathieu van der Poel or any of his team aren't there as well, where he gets an opportunity to be leader. Making the most of it today, Caden Groves, in third. Jasper Philipsen, of course, I was going to say, the other rider who he's without in this race. If he ever goes into a race with those two, he's going to have to be going very well to be top pick above them. So we, according to what he said, won't see Biniam Girmay again until the start of the Tour de France. Jonas Abramson is on the Uno X long list or short list. At this stage, it probably is a short list for the Tour de France too. And his block of altitude training is definitely working. He looked incredibly strong particularly once he'd got rid of his 2-up breakaway companion and headed off by himself. Say a big shout out to Martin Svercek. That is pretty impressive, still being out there at that stage with just a couple of K to go.
Eerste plaats Jonas Abramson, tweede Biniam Girmay en derde plaats voor Caden Groves.
Un podium de qualité et en applaudissant le podium, ce sont tous les participants que nous remercions pour le spectacle qu'ils nous ont donné aujourd'hui à travers donc la région bruxelloise. Bravo à tous les trois.
This, of course, being a race which has dipped out of Flanders from the Flemish-speaking part of Belgium into the French-speaking part of Belgium. Dual language podium presentation here. That wind is still blowing pretty strong in Brussels as well, isn't it? As you can see from the flag banners there.
Donc le ministre des Finances et du Budget, M. Sven Gatz, qui aime le sport, qui aime le cyclisme, qui aime le football. Mais il a vécu une mauvaise saison du côté du Racing Wayne. Voilà. Donc aujourd'hui, il a retrouvé le sourire. Mesdames, Messieurs, vous invite une fois encore à applaudir les 3 lauréats de cette édition 2024 de la Bruxelles Cycling Classic.
Otherwise, guys, you have a bottle of champagne in front of you. Maybe you can open it. Yes, thanks a lot.
They won't need asking twice. Lidl champagne, just a little bit. Jonas Abramson joins the long list of 104 winners in this race that was formerly Paris-Brussels, I should say. Originally an amateur race running at 397 kilometres. Look, a GoPro on the bottle. Where's the shot? I want to see it. How have we not seen that shot? Oh dear, some poor techie has been super gluing a GoPro. Other cameras do exist, as you can see there, to the top of the bottle. That's taken time. It's not super glued, of course. I presume it's a mount of some sort, and at the sort of sticky back mount these things come with. But we've not yet seen the picture. Maybe we'll see it in a bit. I've never seen that before. Bottle cam. Yeah, 397k this race used to be. Today it was 218. I think they'll be glad not to be seeing it tickling 400 kilometres as it used to be back in the day.
A little smile, a big smile.
Oh, a little selfie on the podium.
Well done. Congrats to all the riders. Thanks a lot to be here in Brussels.
After its early editions, by the way, the race didn't run again until 1906, having started out in 1893. And then it began to really build a reputation pre-war. It's really since Merckx's 1973 victory, his dominant victory in 1973, where it's evolved into being more of a sprinter's race after it was shortened from those 300 to 400 kilometres down to about a very modest 200k. Far more manageable, I'm sure you'd agree. Became officially Brussels Cycling Classic in 2013 and entirely in Belgium too, having spread its wings further wide before that.